My sister, 34F, and her husband, 36 male, just got married 3 months ago. I, 30F, was appointed Mo. I was so excited to help her plan her wedding and I took on most of the work since I was unemployed at the time and she's a doctor. I won't get into details but take note she didn't have a wedding planner. It was all me. The time leading up to the wedding, I was miserable because of how the bride treated me. I felt like her own personal slave that she felt she could kick around because she's the bride. Just because you're a bride doesn't mean you get a free pass to be a bitch. Many times I wanted to just step out of the wedding party but I kept telling myself to just bite my tongue and keep the peace because she's probably just stressed. After doing so much for her, she refused to invite my fiancé even if we've been together for 12 years but invited my siblings' partners who have been around for only 2 to 3 years. My sister and her guy dated for a year before they got engaged so we don't really know him too well. She said she didn't want my fiancé around because people would be asking about my own wedding since they've all been wanting us to get married for a while. I refused to do any more work for her wedding until she apologized to me and invited my fiancé, which she did. Not exactly sincerely but whatever. I was hurt she wasn't even grateful for anything that I had done for her and her dream wedding because it was expected of me to help. Cut to the day of the wedding and everything was fine. The ceremony was beautiful and the couple was happy. I was happy for my sister. By the time we got to the reception venue, I noticed that my fiancé and I were on a separate table from my family. They were at the VIP table and I was cast aside to sit at the furthest table right beside the kitchen. I figured there was a mistake and I calmly asked the bride about it since she handled the seating plan. She looked me dead in the eye and said there's no mistake, that's where we belong. At the kids' table and far away. We were seated with 7 to 14 years olds. The groom overheard us and agreed with me but kept quiet when my sister gave him this "don't you dare disagree with me" look. At the end of the night, the groom apologized to my parents for what happened to me and said he had no clue his bride did that. But he didn't say a word to me as his bride told him not to. Because of this, I decided to not make an issue and just try to enjoy the remainder of the night with my partner but I wouldn't make a Mo speech. My parents noticed where I was and got upset at the situation as well. My siblings knew very well I wasn't at their table but didn't bother looking for me or wondering why I wasn't seated there. When they heard I wasn't making a speech, my 2 brothers walked to my table to tell me off saying I had to understand my sister and the stress of being a bride, be nice to her because it's her special day and you're only a bride once, yeah right I bet they'll divorce, that I'm a disgrace and a disgusting disappointment for not doing a speech for my sister, that I would make my sister sad and I was being selfish making the night about me, when I was literally quiet in our corner. Needless to say, I wasn't having the best time. So we got up and left. We ended up in McDonald's for dinner and I posted a story of us getting burgers saying post-wedding meal. I made sure I posted it after the reception ended to not make it look like I ditched but my siblings saw this as an attack to my sister somehow. Up to this day, the bride says she did nothing wrong and her reasoning for putting me there was, 1. I didn't plan her wedding exactly like she envisioned during the process so I deserved to sit there, when I was doing everything she told me she wanted. 2. She didn't like that I looked pretty in my gown and, 3. I needed to be punished or insisting on bringing my fiancé. I didn't plan for my own wedding yet as I wanted to be 100% focused on hers, plus she banned me from getting married before her since she's older. Again because I didn't want the drama, I agreed, but now I just don't want anyone there except my parents and a few close friends. My parents agree with me but my siblings are upset calling me childish but to be completely honest, I just don't feel like paying for shit people. Mine is a destination wedding and my fiancé and I are paying for everything. These are our savings and I don't feel like splurging on these people. They along with my grandparents and cousins are all saying I'm wrong. But hey, if I was excluded from being a sibling at my sister's wedding and no one cared, then why would you be upset if I excluded you in return? Update 1. I come from a family of 5 kids. I failed to mention this because I didn't think it was all that relevant but I actually have 2 sisters, 34 and 32, and 2 brothers, 26 and 22. A little more on my sisters. They're the best of friends. They're the picture-perfect model of sisterly love. While I'm the middle child with 2 younger brothers. So why did I agree to be Mo? Well because I thought it would bring us closer. In my mind, I believed that this was her trying to be more of a sister to me. You always hear stories of that sisterly bond around weddings and I tried to nurture that because that's what they had. And that sibling bond is what my brothers had with each other as well. Any chance I get to connect with my sisters, I jump at the opportunity. It's more me just feeling left out than being a doormat. I was a very sickly child and that is why I was mostly with just my parents growing up while my siblings would be going out, meeting friends, etc. which is what my siblings envied apparently. They aren't close to my parents. Bride had both of us as Mo because she couldn't choose just one. I later found out that I was always the second option and I was just appointed Mo so I do all the work while other Mo got all the praise. Which in hindsight, I should have seen coming. While my brothers were busy harassing me about giving my Mo speech, sister 2 was giving her own Mo speech about how she absolutely loves the bride and will do anything for her, all that CRP. She then conveniently calls all the siblings to the stage to toast the bride and groom when I was crying and rushing out / walking away from my brothers. So to the other relatives in attendance, I was making a scene and making it about me. No, it's not the first time she hurt me, fat shamed me as a child, calling me a potato, saying things like I was a burden to the family because of my epilepsy, throwing all my makeup in the sink and wetting it because I moved her bath towel in the bathroom, calling me the stupid low IQ sister even if I'm a licensed architect with a master's degree when her guy friends wanted to ask for my number, taking my dream church from me, which is why fiancé said we could do a destination wedding at my dream country instead. It's just the worst she's done to spite me in front of my entire family. And no, we still haven't spoken since then, and she still maintains that I was the one who ruined everything by getting upset about the seating. Now for the update. We will elope. Just us two and a handful of close friends that were there for us since the beginning of our relationship. We'll have a small church wedding and a little celebration on the beach with the people we love, our chosen family, followed by island hopping with our entire party around the Philippines. All paid by us. Because I will spend on memories and experiences for people that love and appreciate us. The budget we set aside for a wedding in Italy will be put to an intimate 5-day wedding celebration on an island in the Philippines. 2. We will have our reception with the family when we get back home. The plan is to invite both our big families to a luncheon the weekend after. Collectively, this would mean about 80 guests max. Both our parents wanted to help pay for the engagement party and rehearsal dinner. They agreed to pay for this luncheon/reception instead, meaning they could invite whomever they please. They handle the guest list, so if my siblings are invited, I couldn't care less because I'll be too busy with my husband of 1 to 2 weeks by then. Here we can still have the father-daughter dance and a few other things like cake slicing, etc. We'll have piñatas, a brick oven pizza cart, coffee and pretzels, and an amazing Italian buffet with a pasta bar, lots of fresh fruit and cheese, because who doesn't like cheese? As for seating plan, ever watched Mamma Mia 1? Yep. Think that. A long winding table where my siblings can be as far away from me as possible, and as close to the service area as possible without it being obvious because they'll all be together at their own siblings' table. We'll be in the center with my fiancé, his 2 brothers and our parents will be next to us, while my wonderful sibs are by the end of the table, by the restrooms, where they belong. I don't care at all if they're invited to this lunch because I really have nothing left for them. Not even anger. I'm just so done with them that I'd feel more for a stranger on the street than I would for these people. It's indifference. They've hurt me so many times that I'm numb to their existence. 3. No bridezilla allowed. My sister expects to be my Mo in return. Definitely not going to happen since my siblings won't be present in the ceremony. I do not need her around, I do not want her around. Yes, she will be invited out of courtesy to the reception most likely, but I will make sure she's set aside like I was. How so? We recently found out she's pregnant, so I'm planning my wedding around her due date. Oh well, luckily, she's due around June, which really was the month we wanted. So if she does decide to attend with a newborn and her well, then, she's going to be at the kiddie table and told to step out when baby starts to cry. In the end, our wedding day is for us. And eloping is the only way I feel like we could just sit and enjoy our special day together away from all my siblings and family issues. Then we get back, have a get-together lunch with some good food and good fun. Which is really all it is to me, a lunch. Luckily, fiancé's fam isn't as insane as mine is. Update 2. The wedding. I absolutely enjoyed wedding planning with my husband. Yay, if you ever decide to get married, do a small wedding. You'll live longer, I swear. We told our friends and families that we were pushing back the wedding and wanted to do a destination bachelor/bachelorette trip first. They had no idea we were actually getting married on this trip. We got to Boracay 3 days before everyone for summer's time. When friends arrived, we did all the fun island activities. The night before our wedding, we asked everyone to be up at 7 for breakfast and to dress up in tropical beach outfits for cute pics. We told them to pack this beforehand. Once everyone was there, husband told them we were to be married at 4 p.m. and this was actually an elopement. The excitement from all our friends will forever be a core memory. It's the best feeling to actually have people genuinely happy for you. Us girls did each other's hair and makeup, cried and hugged a lot, while the boys had a good time drinking and playing football. We had our phones and an old digital camera that we'd pass around, and that was it for our event photos. Surprises were our thing since we began dating, and it was just so sweet that we both thought to do the same for our wedding. I love flowers, but I didn't want to bother finding a supplier there. We did have someone help us with all the requirements, but that was it. I'd just get flowers for the luncheon instead. Well, my husband decided to speak to the hotel to surprise me. He knew my favorite flowers and made the prettiest bouquet ever. He also had the church filled, and I ruined my makeup ugly crying when I walked in. For my husband, he is extremely close with his brothers, so I made sure to fly them out to surprise him too. He needed his best men there and I was happy to have them. We said our I-dos, and headed to the hotel for dinner by the beach for a bottle fight. Google that now. It's so good, nothing fancy, but we were happy. The luncheon before the elopement, I sent my seating plan to our family GC because I didn't want them to make a scene on the day. Everyone thought these were the seating plans for our reception. Well, here's where my pettiness shows. My head table consisted of us, our parents, and my husband's brothers. All my siblings were at both ends of the long table. My favorite slap in the face though was a table for one way I in the back tagged breastfeeding area with sister's name on the chair. She was livid. I simply said I was looking out for her. I expected she'd want some privacy. No hard feelings, just thinking ahead. My siblings refused to come because they saw my elopement as an act of disrespect, especially since my brothers-in-law were there. They called our relatives to tell them to not come. Some were upset I could do that to family and they did not agree with our union. I'm happy to report that FR 127 guests, only 58 were coming. So I cut my budget by over half. Sounds like a win to me. The venue was my husband's small family farm, which was so beautiful that I didn't need to spend much on decor at all. Music was just a Spotify playlist we made, photos, prenup, beach and lunch, were all by my friends, cake was baked by me and mom 2 nights before, flowers I bought myself from the morning market and arranged with my girls, my dress was just one I had in my closet. Food, we asked people to bring over potluck meals instead of gifts if they wanted to, we still had our pizza oven, pretzel cart and coffee bar that we paid for instead of a caterer. E-invites we, redesigned by us and sent via email. Since my siblings all didn't want to attend, only Bridezilla's hubby got an invite, with no option for A+1. Her C-section was scheduled a week before my wedding. Did she notice I planned for her to miss the luncheon? Yes. Yes, she did. It was magical. Us being so unaffected upset them even more. But I've come to realize that the louder you try to force people to side with your opinions and your narrative, then the more toxic, unhinged, narcissistic you are. No, I didn't need to go NC with them because they all decided to be NC with me. I didn't even need to try. Blessings left and right. For those blaming my parents, none of my siblings were neglected. If anything, they gave my sibs so much more time and freedom to compensate for all the attention I needed. Remember, these kids are grown-ass adults. My parents are seniors, they're tired. They told my siblings off for being gigantic gaping a-holes, but what else can they do really? Put them on timeout? Since both our parents wanted to pitch in, they helped us with a down payment on a house instead. In return, we surprised them with a 1-week vacation each to Amanfilo. We saved so much from our wedding and luncheon that we just wanted to show how much we appreciate their support and love. Lastly, any extra food and flowers were either taken home by guests or donated. That just made everything more special. Weddings are about love. Our favorite people were around to celebrate us, and we made sure to also celebrate the love we have for them. Our family, best friends, dogs, who were the stars of the show really. I fully embrace this life of peace, contentment and indifference for my siblings. No idea what they're up to. Sorry, they kicked me out of the GC and I only know my sister gave birth because bro-in-law messaged she did. Last thing I heard is they were still trying to badmouth my husband, but we really couldn't care less. We've moved on. Sucks for them they haven't. Now on to second story. 8th for ditching the rest of the backpacking group when I was their only ride. I, 22 male, and my friend from college, 27 male, were invited on a backpacking trip that was being organized by a friend of his who he had met while backpacking in Colorado the year before. The girl, Kaylee, 25F, who organized the trip had booked an Airbnb for us to all stay at the night after we got off the trail from a 3-day trek. There was room enough for 2 people each to the 2 beds, and then room enough for 2 on the pull-out couch. We all paid evenly for the Airbnb. Of course, we thought Kaylee should have priority to have a bed since she had done all the planning, and there was a BF/GF couple as part of the 6 of us planning to stay in the Airbnb. So naturally, my friend and I felt we should take the pull-out couch, and this is how it was settled before ever commencing the trip. However, midway through the trek, the couple had to turn around and head home. So now, there would only be 4 people to the Airbnb, and naturally, so we thought, my friend and I assumed we would now sleep on the real bed. Along with the couple backing out, my friend and I became the only ride for the Kaylee, and the other guy, Tyler, to get back to the airport in Denver, and my friend and I would have a 14-hour drive back after dropping them off. Tyler is a relatively passive character in this saga, as he didn't speak up much for either side, and was designated to be sharing the bed, platonically, with Kaylee anyway, so you won't hear much mention of him. So such was the case when we landed at the Airbnb that my friend and I set our things next to the real bed that Kaylee hadn't taken, and took a cat nap on the bed. Enter, Chris Fisher. Kaylee had invited her friend Chris Fisher to come hang out for the night. Chris lived in CO only a couple hours away from where we were and apparently was a celebrity of sorts in her circle. So, Chris had come in and said hi to Kaylee and Tyler and was briefly introduced to me and my friend, saying a simple "what's up" in response to the introduction. Chris then was shooting the breeze with K&T and my friend, and I went into the room to organize our luggage. Then we hear Chris say I need a shower, and he comes into the room, without a word to us, and plops his stuff onto the foot of our bed and rummages for his toiletries and hops in the shower. After Chris is out of the shower, the group is talking like they're gonna go out for the evening for beers, but I know that we have a 14-hour drive ahead of us the next day after dropping K&T off at the airport, so I tell them all I'm going to hang back and go to sleep for the night. Chris left his bag on the bed, so I moved it to the counter in the living room so he wouldn't forget it. From here, according to my friend, he spent an entire evening out in Grand Lake with the hugest douche he had ever encountered in his life. Fisher could not stop talking about these obscure world records he had broken and or set in the world-renowned sport of ridge running, and his records for most elevation gain in a day by repeatedly going up and down some particular mountain. Kaylee was apparently eating it up as if she was utterly starstruck. If you've seen the movie The Other Guys and recall the attitude that everyone had when encountering The Rock and Sam Jackson's characters, this was, according to my friend, exactly Kaylee's demeanor. After returning from a soul-sucking outing, my friend was more than ready to bid Mr. Fisher adieu, and proceed to never see his face again. That, unfortunately, was not what happened. Kaylee was beyond upset that I was still in the bed. She wanted Chris to have the bed. She invoked the fact that my friend and I were designated for the pull-out couch from the jump. My friend was sticking up for us though, saying that not only did it only make sense that we take the real bed after it opened up, but that Fisher had pitched in nothing for this trip, that we weren't even made aware until last minute that he was coming by, and most importantly, that I was already asleep in the bed. Kaylee apparently was absolutely refusing to have it any other way and would not stop hammering the issue. Finally, Tyler came and woke me up for me to come sleep on the pullout. It was around midnight now, and we needed to be out by 6 a.m. I came into the kitchenette in a sleepy stupor. Here is where I got a real taste of the douche that is Chris Fisher. For 2 hours in the kitchenette, 8 feet away from the couch Kaylee had insisted we sleep on, my friend and I sat there and listened to Kaylee and Fisher drag on and on about all their outdoor adventure prowess. Talking about how great they were at skiing, at snowboarding, at setting FKTs on trails. I did not know until this point that vacation activities could be such a flex, but here they proved to me that one can make them one's entire personality and the culmination of an entire life of accomplishment. Looking back now, I should have piped up about how I went to Europe and hiked on the Matterhorn, but they surely would have retorted with how they had gone to Europe too, but even harder. Here is where my friend and I may be the assholes. My friend was staring at me and seething. He hated the fact that they had woken me up, hated the fact that they kicked us out of our bed, and hated the insult to injury of them having the audacity to shoot the SHT for another 2 hours right by where my friend and I needed to be sleeping. About 1.5 hours in, as he seethes, he subtly gestures at me to look at my phone. I open my phone and read "Let's ditch these a-holes." And so as soon as they finally head to bed, we promptly agree that Chris Fisher, in taking our place in our bed, unwittingly took his place as their ride to Denver, grab our packs by the door, and set out back to Oklahoma at 3 a.m. on the dot. Update 1. So there was indeed some embellishment. Chris asked for this, so no one try and blame me for making him and Kay look even worse. Chris's comment: everything in this story is true except for the part about us actually leaving. My friend tried to talk me into it, but I said it was too mean to do even in response to what they had done to us. I couldn't bear leaving someone hours away from where they needed to be, though my friend did insist Fisher would surely be a reliable ride to the airport. In reality, we had told them, upon agreeing to be their ride to the airport, that this would necessitate us leaving very early that morning because my friend and I were going to be cutting it close to try and make it back to Oklahoma all in one stretch so he could make it to his 6 p.m. Central Time class that evening. So even after being treated like dirt, even after them sleeping in and then lollygagging all morning and causing us not to hit the road until about 2 hours after we needed to be on the road, we still drove an hour out of our way that morning to take K&T to the airport, which overall ended up making us too late for his class. We called friends and fam all that day to pick their brains about if we would have been, as I maintained, wrong to leave them, or if we should have, as my friend insisted, left them K&T high and dry. We got mixed reviews from that. We had completely forgotten about the scenario until today when we were driving on our way to another new adventure and reading eighth posts as we love to do on our car rides, and realized that this story would be perfect for this forum. Of course, we were not posting into a forum called Would I Hypothetically Have Been the Asshole If I Had Done the Thing I Thought to Do but was too nice to have done, so we had to add to the story the alternate ending that we've always wondered about.